Hello and welcome back to Blues Armory, where today we're talking Jango Fett. Let's get into it. So I may have mentioned this before, but for MEFCC 2024, I put together a Jango Fett kit in about 3 weeks. This was one of the fastest kits of Mandalorian armor I think I've ever put together, and I've never really done a video explaining the kit. And that's because the kit was a bit of a disaster. So I'm going to walk you through this kit, I'm going to walk you through how it was to wear on the day, and we're going to talk a little bit about how the kit's held up, what's going on with it, and what my plans are for it in the future. So, shall we start at the top? A little bit of backstory on the Jango Fett kit. So I 3D printed a lot of this kit and did all the soft parts for it, but there were some parts of kit that I actually got from a 501st member here in the UAE. And that's kind of what spurred on my want to do a Jango Fett kit. I've always loved Jango Fett. I think he's one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. And there was a 501st member in the UAE who was leaving the country and getting rid of a lot of his props. And he had the start of a very raw Jango Fett kit that was just maybe 20% of the way done. And he gave me a really good price on just all the bits and pieces that he had left over. And I thought, do you know what? 3 weeks out of the convention, I think I can put together a kit. That was not a good idea, but we did it anyway. So let's start with the helmet. So the helmet you may have seen in a lot of my videos before. This helmet I am actually really proud of. It basically was a very, very rough, like really rough 3D printed helmet that was just needing to be completely finished and have all the accessories attached on. So that was what my main focus was doing this helmet. Now this is the first helmet that I've done of a Mandalorian face character. So it was a different challenge for me to start putting together a character where I'm actually having to look at references rather than just sort of like freehanding it and doing what I think looks cool. And obviously Jango Fett's kit is not that weathered. And I absolutely love weathering. So I really had to like hold back on this kit to make sure that I didn't overdo it. So we sanded it to all hell. It had some really, in the cheeks here, it had some really rough texture on it. It was quite a low quality print. So it took a lot of smoothing to get these bumps and ridges out of the cheeks. And also, it's not the most accurate. There are a few bits on the side that this is not how Jango's helmet really looks like. Again, I was in such a rush that I didn't get it perfect. We didn't do much on the inside, just a little bit of padding, but we managed to get the helmet done. The silver was really difficult to do. I used a Rust-Oleum silver. We did a black gloss base coat first, and then hit it with the Rust-Oleum silver. And it's not perfect. It doesn't have exactly the right sheen that I would want to for a Jango Fett kit, but I think it looks pretty good. And then I got the closest Rust-Oleum blue that I could find. And I think you'll see Jango Fett's blue here is usually slightly different to the on the mandibles. I didn't do that. I just sort of darkened the cheeks up with a bit of weathering to try and get that effect, because again, I didn't have the correct spray paints. Same with the rangefinder. The rangefinder is stuck in place. I could have done it so that it was able to go up and down, but again, I just didn't have the time. And then finally, the bane of my existence is these pinstripes here. They are iconic to Jango's helmet, but my God, they are so hard to do. So I got car detailing pinstripe material, and it is just this arduous process of laying it onto the helmet and trying to get it as straight as possible. Hats off to the Jango Fett costumers that can get this perfect. I think I did a pretty good job. I think it looks all right. I think I did a pretty good job. I think it looks all right. I think it gets the idea of Jango Fett. And you wouldn't mistake this for another Mandalorian. You know this is Jango Fett. So that is one of the pieces that I already had that just needed finishing. Same goes for the gauntlets. The gauntlets, again, were part of that kit I picked up. They had clearly been made a while ago and not been used. So they were in quite a rough shape. In fact, Jivan gave me 2 sets of gauntlets in 2 slightly different sizes. And they are, I think, 3D printed. I think. I'm not entirely sure. He didn't tell me. I think they're 3D printed, but they've actually been backed with fiberglass. So these are like, you can almost hear it when you crunch together. You can hear the fiberglass like breaking a little bit. These gauntlets are really nice. They're not, again, 100% accurate, but I think they look really cool. When I got them, they needed a lot of work. So what I did is I just sanded down as much as I could and then gave them a fresh coat of paint because they needed it. There were a few other things that were missing that I added in. The cord launcher, I added in the cord details. And then again, once they were painted with the silver, I just went over and gave them a rough bit of weathering just to give them some more depth. And I know that's not completely accurate to Jango, but again, I just can't help it. These are nice. The paint is not perfect on them, but I think, again, they give that idea of Jango Fett. These are not very comfortable to put on. They do have like piano hinges on the side, but the other side is just like a Velcro closure and it doesn't work perfectly, but they completely did the job and I think they look quite cool. They're a little bit big for my arms, but we made it work on the day. There are a few pieces that I have that may or may not have broken on the day. So the cod piece that is used to attach the belt, that is now repainted because I'd like to use it again for another Mandalorian kit. So I don't have that with me. So we're gonna move on to the legs. Here are the knees. The knees, again, are massively, massively too big for me. Again, I think they were 3D printed or cast, maybe? I'm not entirely sure, but again, they've been backed with fiberglass, so they are pretty strong, and they even have actual metal detailing on the sides of them. They are too big for me, and then I also had to add the straps in. I did my usual method of just some elastic and backed the elastic. You won't be able to see this, but just here with a little bit of foam, just so that the fiberglass had a bit more to grab onto. Again, I sanded them down and gave them a fresh coat of paint because they were looking a little bit rough after not being used for a while. Same goes for the shoulder bells. We did the same thing of sanding them down, giving them a fresh coat of paint. Again, these are a little bit too big for my body, but it was okay. There was not really any way to make them different or better. That's just how we had to have them. And then I used a method of snaps and Velcro for the inside, just to keep them onto the flight suit. And then we have, I don't have all of it here, but we have parts of Jango Fett's chest piece. Again, same thing here. We sanded it down, we gave it a fresh coat of silver, and then we just scuffed it and weathered it up a little bit just to make them look a bit more like metal. That's roughly all the bits and bobs that I had. We were still missing boot covers, shin plates, thigh plates, and a few other bits and pieces. And with only 3 weeks to go, I didn't really know what to do. So what I did is I went to where you should always go for Jango Fett related items, and that's Wasted Fett on Etsy and Instagram. Hello, Editor Gavin here. I'm going to mix up my Fetts in this video. The maker that gave me the files so nicely was Minute Fett. Now, Wasted Fett is still a fantastic maker and makes some beautiful helmets, as I said in the video, but I've not spoken to him, and Minute Fett is the creator that I got the files from and is the one you want to go to if you're really looking for Jango Fett STLs as well. Both creators are amazing. I just got mixed up because I was looking at some Etsy stuff before this video, so apologies for making that mistake. Just remember that when you're watching this. He has a great set of Jango Fett STLs that you can purchase and download, and also does some of the most incredible cold cast helmets for Jango Fett that genuinely look like actual Beskar. I dropped him a message and I basically said, Hey man, I have a halfway-ish done Jango Fett kit, but I'm missing a load of stuff. I don't need the full STLs. I just need these bits and pieces that that I need to finish off the kit, and I'm in a massive rush. And genuinely massive shout out to him, because he didn't charge me for it. He didn't say, okay, it's this price if you just want these pieces. He completely understood the situation and just threw me the STLs for the stuff I needed, which is a massive help. And it's just one of these reasons that I love this community sometimes. People are just willing to help. They want people to have cool kits. They just want things to look fantastic. So I got the STLs from him, quickly got them printed, standard, filled, primed, as much as I could to make them look great, chucked the silver on them, added the attachments, and then we were ready to go. The reason you're not seeing those parts now is because if you look at my Mandalorian currently, which will be here on the screen somewhere, those bits are on my Mandalorian. The shin plates and the boot covers are now part of my Mandalorian kit. When I finished wearing this Jango Fett kit, I wasn't entirely happy with it, and it was a bit of a disaster because of the sizing issues and because I'd done it so quickly, that I thought I'd repurpose some of the bits of armor that I'd made, and they're now on my Mando. So there's a few other things, he says, having a look down there, including one of the other things that I got was the belt. Now, the belt is, you know, that Jango Fett belt. It hooks into the cod piece, and then your Westars go inside. This worked for me on day one perfectly. It looked cool, it held up, and then I gave it to Jess for her Mando kit on the Sunday, and she wore it on her Mando kit, and I think just years of it just being left out and not used, it disintegrated. The stitching started falling apart. There's holes in it now. It would need some, look, we've literally got like bits of Velcro and elastic because we were trying to hold it together on the day. It is a beautiful piece, but it is now a bit dead without a lot of work. That's all the hard armor pieces. We've got a couple more things I want to show you about the Jango kit, and then I'll wrap it up. But let's look at the soft parts and let's look at the blasters. So a quick note on the soft parts of this costume. Like I said, it was a very rushed job, and I picked up my soft parts a day before we went down to Abu Dhabi for MEFCC. So there wasn't really any time for adjustments or to fix anything that I didn't like. But I'm really, really happy with the soft parts. So I've got the top here. So this is the top for Jango Fett. It's got a double sleeve, which is perfect. And it is a beautiful, beautiful like shirt. I don't know if it's in exactly the right color. Same with the trousers. But it's close enough, and he did that so quickly. It was done by a local tailor here in Dubai. He did a really good job, considering that, as with any cosplay stuff I take to the tailors here, they just have no clue about what I'm talking about or what I'm bringing to them. So he just kind of nodded along. I sent him like 50 different pictures to be like, I need this. And they did a really good job. And then they also did my flak vest. Now, this is going to look like an absolute disaster, because it is. This is what my flak vest now looks like. It's not great, is it? To give you some context, and if you ever ask Jess about what happened with this Jango Fett kit, the night before we left for MEFCC, and even the day we arrived and got into the hotel, I was still trying to add the attachments to the armor and to the flak vest. I originally went with Velcro. As you can see, Velcro didn't really sit that nicely. So I changed from Velcro to snaps, and then it was difficult to get the snaps into the vest, and I couldn't line them up properly, so I was putting paint on the snaps to try and attach them, and it just made a massive mess. And then the snaps worked, but I couldn't get them done fast enough, so I panicked and I just chucked on as much Velcro as possible, which is not the best idea. It was a real panic job, and then because I've thought I maybe want to use this again, since I've tried to take the Velcro off because we didn't sew it on, we stuck it on, it is now just like peeling apart the flak vest. This flak vest is ruined. The shoulders on it were really nice and stiff, good to hold the armor, but this is a disaster. A few other things. I did have them. So here's an example of, I just had these underneath. Here's an example of the thigh plates that I printed. They look fantastic. They look as similar as I could get them to the other pieces that I already had. I kept them underneath the table. And then I'm sure I kept something else underneath the table to show you. So the final thing is the blasters. These are Jango Fett's Westars, one of the coolest sounding blasters in Star Wars. How did I make these? These are actually the toy Westars from, I guess, 2002. These were like the greyish blue and orange ones that you would buy at Toys R Us or something like that. And they're fairly accurate, apart from, you know, the screw holes and a few bits like that. They do actually, they did actually make noise. I took the batteries out and everything. And they do have like a working trigger. But basically what I did is I sanded off all the logos, made them look nice and, well, as realistic as I could. And then we just hit them with a nice coat of silver paint and weathered up a little bit of it. These are definitely not perfect. They're not the most accurate thing in the world, but I think they look really cool and I'd love to use them for another Jango Fett kit. So the last thing would be the back plate. Now I'll show you. I do have a back plate. Look, and you can even see the start of me trying to put together this. Again, this was one I got from the Fiverr First member. Fiberglass on the inside, really nice bit of kit. And the actual holes in it where the jetpack would have mounted. I did not wear this because I could not get this mounted to me in time. Again, I could probably use that for another Mando kit, but I'm not going to. And then finally, the jetpack. I printed the jetpack, I finished the jetpack, I made the jetpack look phenomenal. Here's a photo of it. The jetpack is one of the coolest things I ever made because I genuinely made it, not including printing time. I probably made it in 3 days. And I got the paint pretty close, not ideal, but we got it close enough. And I was in love with this jetpack. And then just over a year ago, I thought, here's a great idea for a video. Let me redo the jetpack. And I stripped the paint off it and repainted it. And I still hate myself to this day for doing that. And I kind of want to take it back to its original Jango Fett paint job, because the paint job I did on it, if you look at the video, which I'll put up here, it's terrible. And it looks really bad. So my general consensus of wearing a Jango Fett kit, it was so cool to be Jango Fett. And I would love to have a proper Jango Fett kit done. But, and fun enough, when I first met the Fiverr First guys of the UAE, I'd done a Jango Fett. So a lot of them asked, like, where's your Jango Fett? What's going on with that? This is what's going on. It's just in no state to be approvable. It's not even in any state to be worn again, which is really sad because I really did like wearing the kit. But it's just, it would take so much work to fix this kit that it would almost make more sense to start again. And like stuff like the helmet is not approvable. The gauntlets are not really approvable. And those are two big things that would have to start again. I would love a cold cast Jango Fett helmet. Even if it wasn't for a kit, I love this helmet. I love how classic it looks. I love how simple it is. And I would love one of those. But this will do for now. And I love having it in the back of my videos. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the Jango Fett kit. I never really did a kit breakdown of Jango Fett. So I kind of wanted to talk through what it was like putting this kit together and how quickly we did it, because I think it's the fastest I've ever worked on a costume that I actually really was putting work into. So it was really fun, but I don't think Jango Fett will ever be coming back. But I am looking at using a lot of these pieces to build another Mandalorian. Once I get my first Mando approved with a Mando Mercs, there is enough bits and pieces here that I think I can put together my own brand new Mandalorian, and I think that will be super, super fun. So if you have any questions about Jango Fett costume kits, please drop them in the comments down below. If you are looking to get anything Jango Fett related, if you need STLs, if you need a helmet or anything, go check out Wasted Fett. His stuff is just phenomenal. It's beautiful work. Go check them out. And if you'd like to follow me on any other socials, they'll be down in the comments or the description down below. But that will do it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you on the next video. Happy crafting. Have a great week ahead. Goodbye.